All right, this is our total quality evaluation and analysis for the project entitled Obesity. I'm Tyler Kirkwood.
I'm Manny.
Nick Staley.
Tate.
All right, so a quick introduction. What is quality? That's a very open-ended question because quality is always open-ended. Achieving total quality is a constantly ongoing process. It's never-ending. To have a quality of a product, an organization, or in this case, a group in school, needs to constantly be modifying, constantly engineering new ways to make their product or their project, the final outcome, better. So quality means making a significant commitment to standards. Making this commitment is certainly no easy task. It takes consistency by the managers, or by this case, your colleagues within a group. Consistency of a product is how satisfied, quality of a product is how satisfied a customer is. It's consistency. A customer wants the same thing every time if they like that product. A new customer wants the quality that they would expect in buying the product for the first time, and every time they return, they expect that same quality. So the application to students. Students are goal-oriented. Whether your goal is just to graduate, whether your goal is to get straight A's, students are goal-oriented. That's why we're here. So quality differs upon the individual goals of the student, but the quality of the product, teachers expect the quality to be consistent. They want to see what they asked for, what was asked for in the syllabus, just as a customer would if you were producing a product. So the application to the project called Obesity. There were many problems with this product. The final output of the product was very poor. It actually came out a little bit offensive, and it did not meet the guidelines of what the teacher asked for. A big problem with that is, as we know, total quality is not just the output of the product, but it is also the involvement of the team, the involvement of the workplace or your colleagues within a group, and that is how you achieve total quality. So you need collaboration. You need the final output to be good, and you need everyone to be able to communicate with each other in an effective way to be able to oil the gears of the machine, essentially. So total quality. Quality needs to be a function. It's a priority in the project that you're making. You need to set out with the goal that your team is going to achieve an exceptional standard of what the teacher would expect. And by doing that, and a good way to do this, a good way to input this, is a team charter. You can explicitly lay out the directions and goals of the team. You can assign the duties of each student within a team charter, and just lay out, like I said, just lay out explicit directions of what needs to be done. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. If someone's not doing what they need to do, you can address that. Because they signed the team charter, everyone knows which direction they should be heading. So the Deming cycle, it's a five-stage cycle, and this would have been incredibly effective to apply in this team. The first step is conduct consumer research. So the team could, research into the people their project would be addressing. So other students, and then produce an initial rundown of the project, essentially a rough draft. So, and then after that, you could check the product. How effective is it? Is it working for us? And then make a marker for the product. Who are we going to be giving this or presenting to? What target audience are we trying to get? And then analyze how the product performs. So a good way to do that would be selecting a specific group of students, present that project to them. How was it? Was it effective? Did we convey the message that we were trying to? That type of thing. Also the Duran trilogy: quality planning, quality control, and quality improvement. So in the group, even within the team charter, they could have planned how they were going to execute the product. The quality control, check the product. Is it okay? What's wrong with it? How can we get better? And then quality improvement. So that's taking everything you learned from that, like we said before, the control group. Taking what you learned, taking now what you know is wrong with it, deciding who the specific target audience is going to be, and then improve upon that. So overcoming politics. In this particular project entitled Obesity, there wasn't a lot of politics because there was not much team collaboration. The team barely met. No one was doing their part. So typically, though, teams are motivated to have internal politics by self-interest, ambition, acceptance, and personal insecurities rather. So overcoming politics, you need good communication to start off with. You need respect. The team members are allowed to disagree. That's fine. That's going to happen in every organization, every group across the world. There's always going to be disagreements, but it's learning how to take those disagreements and grow from it. So respect within the organization. Clear expectations, setting forth goals for each and every person. And then again, that brings us down to involving everyone. If there's going to be goals, everyone needs to participate. Everyone needs to be doing their share so that there's not the internal politics.
All right, I'll be going over quality and global competitiveness. As Ty was saying, the quality of a product is constantly increasing, which creates a competitive market that's always increasing as well. So if you're going to stay competitive as a company, you need to up your product and your the process and always improve that way of competing as a company. So if you're going to be able to do this in the global marketplace, you can always benchmark the head competitor and based off what you're going to do within that to achieve just as much quality or even exceed that. And this can be done in the classroom because you can always benchmark the rubric and try to exceed all the expectations. And the global marketplace, it's compared to the classroom because there's always a set of students that get A's, B's, and C's in normal distribution. So you always want to make sure your product is better than the others. So it's a competing market in the classroom as well. And dealing with issues, you'd be surprised that when companies are faced with issues, usually their quality initiatives are the first ones to go. And this happened in the obesity project as well because they had a huge issue of procrastination and they just decided let's finish the project and didn't even care about the quality, which a better alternative could have been they could have set the goals within that small amount of time and refine the most efficient and effective ways to reach those goals with the limited time they had. Now, strategic management. To achieve a good strategy, you always want to create a strategic plan. And it can be done in many ways, but I saw that mainly there's usually 4 phases, which is analyzing and assessing, strategy formulation, strategy execution, and evaluation. Starting off, you want to start analyzing and assessing your team, and this can be done with a SWOT analysis. And this can really help you determine your internal and external environment. And by doing this, you can look at your strengths and opportunities and try to capitalize on them. And also, you're going to try to manage your weaknesses and threats. And by doing so, when you assess your when you assess your SWOT analysis, you can find your competitive advantage and really thrive as a company. And when you do this in a team project, you just can figure out the way you can approach a project using all your guys' strengths and avoiding your weaknesses. So next is a strategy formulation. And in this process, you can create the vision and mission statement of your team or company. And when in this process, you really want to determine your goals and what you're really out to achieve and determine how you can achieve that. And in this process, you also want to determine who's accountable for what, especially in a team project, because not one person is supposed to do the whole project. So you want to make sure that you hold people accountable. And in doing this, you want to have a team charter because this will hold everyone accountable. And it just really lays down the lines of what's going to happen if someone isn't holding their weight in the project. And with the vision and mission statement comes the broad strategic objectives. This is what the team is attempting to accomplish and what is needed to achieve these goals. So after you have that implemented, strategy execution is everything because a strategic plan is enormously helpful to a company or group's success, but it's only effective if it's executed properly. And also, you need to have the time you just need to have the time to revise and improve your product because it's essential in achieving your team's potential and achieving that total quality that everyone's after. I'm going to move on to continual improvement now. All right, so continual improvements. Customer needs they aren't static. So, like we said, total quality is something you can't just achieve and then be happy with it. Like, it's constantly upgrading itself. So, you need to improve your processes, people, and products in the way to effectively achieve this success. And this is done at all times because moving on from that, like a manager's role, continual improvement with managers is it's never enough to just set policies and create awareness and set all this subordinates aside, because all managerial activity is either directed towards control or improvement. So if you're going to reach total quality and stay there, you have to be on the improvement side at all times, because if businesses aren't continually improving, they're going to lose their competitive advantage, and that's what really creates their demand. So if you're going to stay competitive in a market, you need to make sure you're constantly improving your product. And through the methods of continual improvement, we thought improving this project of obesity would be best done by the design of process, because there really was no clear set goals or objectives, and we made sure in this project we set them up. And that really grounded us for what we wanted to achieve, and then decided what we needed to measure, like for what we wanted to achieve, and that was done by benchmarking the rubric and just making sure we were to achieve this in the fullest way possible. And having these expectations, it gives us the chance to achieve them in the best of our ability. So once we implement the improvement process and we figure out what we need to improve and actually do the process of doing that, you want to revise what you have done. And this is best done with the design. The next step of the design of process method is to have an experiment. And this is done by showing the improvement process we just did to like a group of students, say, and really ask them if we achieved our goal of hitting all the points of the rubric while getting our message across, and really getting their feedback. And from that, we have an outside assessment that we can analyze and put towards the next improvement process. Because as quality never stops improving, as the chase for total quality never stops, neither should the process of quality continual improvement.
Employee empowerment. Empowerment gives employees ownership of work. Getting employees involved in their work creates a better outcome. To implement empowerment, there must be a vehicle in place for people to express their ideas, such as a session to meet and voice opinions. Any inhibitors must be overcome, such as negativity. And there must also be a supportive environment. Communication. What is communication? Communication can be defined as the exchange of information and understanding between two or more persons or groups, with emphasis on exchange and understanding. Communication is the oil that keeps a total quality machine running. In the group project, there was a lack of communication. There was no attempt at communication, and there was no communication to decide on goals, a charter, or when to meet. Communication is a process. The process includes a sender, a message, a medium, and a receiver. So each person, there's a sender and receiver, they're two people, and they're both responsible for the communication. A message must be sent through a medium, and the receiver must listen to it actively. So active listening is the act of mindfully hearing and attempting to comprehend the meaning of words spoken. The group needed to listen to concerns of others. Instead, the group didn't even bother communicating. Some inhibitors of active listening are lack of concentration, preconceived ideas, thinking ahead, interruptions, tuning out, and interference. ISO 9000 is an internationally recognized quality management system for total quality. The 8 principles of the ISO 9000 are customer focus, which is understanding and meeting the customer's needs and requirements, and strive to exceed the customer's expectations. Leadership, establish a unity of purpose and organizational direction. Involvement of people, use fully involved employees' abilities to benefit the organization. Process approach, recognize that things accomplished are the results of a process. System approach, processes are interrelated and should be managed as a system. Continual improvement, permanent objective to improve should be applied to all aspects of the organization.
All right, so I'm going to discuss leadership and change, which the two are very closely related. So in this project, obesity, there was a distinct lack of leadership. There was no leader appointed in any way, no one, and a lot of times in these groups, a leader will simply emerge. Well, in this case, that didn't happen. So an appointment of a leader would have helped greatly. There would have been one person collaborating, trying to get everyone to collaborate, meet together, and then through the leader, he or she could have empowered the employees, in this case the other students, given them the buy-in of why they're doing the project, not just do it because they have to. Why are they doing it? Why is it good? And then listening to them, taking into account what they're saying, taking into account the ways that they think that they can best change and adapt the project to achieve that quality. And then the quality, value, productivity, and service. The service would obviously be to the professor in this case. Those are crucial steps in leadership and change. Okay, so the leader. As I said, the leader needs to be goal-oriented. The leader needs to be the one stepping up, saying, guys, this is what needs done. This is how we're going to do it. And then delegating of responsibilities, making sure everyone takes upon themselves to go out and do what they need to do, bring it together, collaborate, and then the understanding of employees. Everyone is going through something different. Everyone has a different moral background, etc. So the understanding of employees is crucial for a leader because they need to be the one that can bring everyone together. They need to be that cohesive force within a group. Okay, so team building. Teams can obviously be built just through communication with each other. You start to understand one another, learn how to get along, learn how to communicate, and communication, as we know, is crucial. In the team building, there could have been the division of work, and then through the team building, you could have discussed the quality of work per division. So there needs to be that common and collective goal. And then there also needs to be set forth guidelines, as I said before about the team charter. That's part of team building. Building how that team is going to work together, and the team charter can explicitly lay out not necessarily the instructions, but the direction for the team. Teamwork, storming, that's essentially brainstorming. You're thinking, you're constantly innovating ideas of how to get better, and then you take those ideas and form them. So how are we going to bring this all together? We have the ideas now that we've stormed, now we need to form, we need to execute, we need to bring them together to one place and figure out how we're going to apply that, and how that is going to help us achieve that outstanding standard, which is quality. And everyone has to be a team player. If everyone's not a team player, you may as well just forget about them, because they're not contributing, they're not putting what they need to, they're not working towards the same goals that you have set forth to, you and the other team members or colleagues. And then communication. Are the expectations being met? If they're not, that needs to be communicated. This is where communication is everything. If expectations aren't being met, you can't just count someone out. You have to talk to them. Why aren't you doing your part? Is there anything we can do to help you understand it? Communication is crucial, and it can be used in a number of different ways.
Alright, I'll be talking about quality management, ethics, and corporate social responsibility. Trust. Trust is really important because without no trust, there would be no communication. It's a perfect example of the last group members because they did not trust anybody at all. So there was no communication, like Tay said, and they didn't even try to talk to each other. They didn't even have a team charter. They didn't have goals or anything. So unethical behavior. Unethical behavior it depends on your moral system of values. Ethics is doing the right thing within the moral framework. Following are the factors that influence unethical decision making individual, organizational, and opportunity. I will talk about how organizational factors influence the previous group. Following are the organizational factors that contribute to unethical behavior according to Chapter 4. The first one is failing to make ethics part of the organization's core values, failing to set a consistent positive example, putting the personnel in ethics corner, failing to adopt, deploy, and enforce a corporate code of ethics, applying unrealistic pressure, and failing to reward ethical behavior. One of the group members procrastinated until the end, and therefore all the other group members had to put that one person that waited till the end in an ethical corner, where that student had to make an unethical decision to plagiarize, and result of that, he got a 0. Then I'll go on to integrity. People with integrity are counted to do the right things on time and do them correctly. The previous group members did not put any effort into their parts due to their procrastination. Finally, employees should be responsible in order to provide quality product or service. In this case, the employees are the group members. So, the Chapter 4 states that in the modern workplace, employees are drawn from society that, as a rule, shuns responsibility. So that means you pretty much blame it on somebody else. And that was a good example of the last group members, because they didn't do their work and they got a bad grade. They just took the easy way out and they just blamed the teacher. So the next thing I will talk about is the customer satisfaction, retention, and loyalty. Who is the customer? In this case, the customer would be the professor. And to satisfy the professor would obviously give you a guidelines or a rubric or something to follow off on. Then it's the employee's job or the group member's job to satisfy the customer, or as known as the professor, by following those guidelines. As you can see here, the organization's survival depends on the customer. Then I will go on to continual communication. You need continual communication with the professor in order to access his thoughts and, just ask him to read over your paper and make sure none of the mistakes are there, and just help you out. Then I will talk about the next slide, please. Benchmarking. Benchmarking was introduced by Robert C. Camp in his 1989 landmark book. The purpose of benchmarking is to improve the key process. The previous group had poor process, and if the professor were to allow the use of benchmarking technique, the group would have been able to improve their system. The group will also need a vision and a strategic objective. Obviously, the group vision is to get an A, and the strategic objective would be to create a team charter and set some objectives to achieve that goal of getting an A.
All right, that is the conclusion of our analysis of the project entitled Obesity. If the group would have simply implemented what we know about total quality and the values and other ways to implement total quality that we went over today, they would have had a much more effective product, and they would have been able to communicate their point better.
Thank you.